We're talking about deportations, the illegal ones, and then we're talking about what it's like getting old and why we don't want to be outside no more. We're going to get into it. Let's get it! Welcome. First of all, welcome. This is Unsolicited Perspectives. I'm your host, Bruce Anthony, here to lead the conversation in important events and topics that are shaping today's society. Join the conversation and follow us wherever you get your audio podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for our video podcasts and YouTube exclusive content. Rate, review, like, comment, share. Share with your friends, share with your family, hell, even share with your enemies. On today's episode, it's a Sibling Happy Hour. I'm here with my sis, Aundrea. We're going to be dilly-daddling a little bit, and then we're going to be talking about an illegal deportation, and then we're going to be talking about getting older. But that's enough of the intro. Let's get to the show. What up, sis?
What up, brother?
I can't call it. We back to a Friday Sibling Happy Hour. I know some people are going to be excited to the fact that we coming back to the weekend.
Yeah, because I mean, it just don't feel like a happy hour unless it's on a Friday.
Yeah, I mean, people can do a Tuesday happy hour, which is what they've been doing, since you started grad school. But you hit me up when you was like, I'm available for an extra day for a little while. And I was like, cool, because my Sunday fun days have been taken up and it's just a lot to record in that amount of time.
It is. So I'm glad we're splitting it up a little bit.
I had an interesting conversation today.
Okay.
With a very, very intelligent friend of mine.
Okay.
And I don't know how I've been having some epiphanies that shouldn't be epiphanies, that are pretty self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
One is why so many white Americans are following along with Trump and MAGA. And I realized...
Oh, you mean why they're okay with a dictatorship but not diversity?
Right. And I realized, just as Black people, not all, but more than a large portion, were defending O.J. Simpson when we know his ass was guilty, that defend R. Kelly, that defend Bill Cosby, we identify with our Blackness. When people ask us what we are, the first thing that we say is Black. We don't say American. For many white Americans in this country that can't trace their lineage back and say, I'm exactly this, or I'm Irish, I'm Scottish, I'm 100% Italian. It's a mixture. So the one thing that they can say, I am this, is American. So they defend that idea because they're a part of something. And without it, what are they? If you take away my Blackness, I feel like I'm more than just that. But if you take away my Blackness, that's the majority of my identity. How do I describe myself without describing myself as Black, as a Black man, as a Black American man, which is different than Black men in other countries, but a Black man.
Yeah.
But as I'm going through these epiphanies in my head, my nighttime showers go one or two ways. They either go, I'm arguing about it to myself from a past argument, like I'm reenacting an argument from the past.
Yes, for sure.
Or getting ready for future arguments and debates that I know is going to happen. That's my shower time madness. Either I'm doing that or I'm literally in the shower just in thought.
Okay.
And another thought came to my mind about how much I've changed. That some friends that I've had for decades, right? Maybe wouldn't be my friends if I met them today. And friends that I have today, that I met today, probably wouldn't have been my friends had I met them 20 years ago. And just that evolution.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't watch sports anymore like that. Like, you know me, I used to be a huge sports fan. I don't watch sports anymore like that. And my friend said, well, maybe it's because you don't need that escape. Or you found that escape wasn't working for you. I said, what? What do you mean? He's like, yeah, I mean, most people that do these things and have these hobbies and sports and things of that nature, they're trying to escape something because their job sucks, or maybe their family situation isn't the greatest, or maybe their family situation is great, but just time consuming, and they just need a moment where their mind relaxes.
Yes.
And to get away. And then maybe that stuff for me was an escape. Because let's face it, I've gone through bouts of depression. I have severe anxiety.
Yeah.
Maybe those things were a way for me to escape. And at some point, I don't know, within the last 10 years, it's just been this gradual thing that I just don't use sports anymore. And it
Yeah.
was like, okay, so what's happening here? And my friend was like, was probably all of a sudden. I was like, no, it wasn't all of a sudden. I just realized it suddenly.
Yeah.
The change was gradual, but I realized it suddenly. And it's interesting because in this third segment, we're going to be talking about why we get older and we don't want to go outside. But I think we don't talk enough about why our mentality changes as we get older. Like that,
Yeah.
hopefully you're evolving. Have you noticed anything like that happening with you? Were just things that you were like really, really into? Like now you're entering your 40s and you're like, I don't do that as much as I used to.
Yeah. I would say like film and television. I used to watch movies and be into film and television a lot. Now my TV is barely on. If it's on, it's just like background music, mostly for the dogs. Like I I used to love going to the movies and I just don't do it anymore. And it was like a creative thing for me, but also yeah, it was a form of escapism. And I think as I get older and I become more grounded in my life and I become more content with my life and the direction that it's going because I'm doing the things that I want to do and making things happen for myself and all of that, I think I need those outlets less and less.
Mhm.
And and I don't need a form of escapism from a job that I hate because I'm doing something now that I enjoy.
Right.
I don't get those. We talked about it last week, those Sunday scaries,
Mhm.
or those job nightmares or things like that. Like I don't have those issues anymore. I always have anxiety. It's generalized.
Yeah, it's
So it's
generalized.
it's gonna
It
be
ain't going
there
nowhere.
in general.
If we could get
Right?
rid of it, we
So there are
sure
still
enough
things
would.
that I do that that's kind of like born out of that. Like they say watching the same show or something like that over and over is emotional regulation. I do
Mhm.
that with music. I listen to
Mm.
the same song on repeat over and over and over, and that's a form of emotional regulation. So I'll do things like that now. But yeah, I think as you start, I think anytime you start to kind of take more ownership of your life
Mhm.
and taking stock, like as you get older and realizing, okay, am I happy right now? Am I
Mm.
happy doing what I'm doing?
Mhm.
And if not, then I need to make some changes. And like then making those changes, you need those coping skills less and less.
Yeah. I'm about to get real personal about myself. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what it is. I don't know if
You feeling some type of way today?
is Saturn in lemonade right now, something like that?
I think Mercury is in Gatorade.
Okay. Is it
Yeah.
orange or fruit punch?
As far as I know, it's glacial ice.
Whoo, that's the reason why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling.
Which is really just cherry.
Yeah, it really is just cherry and has a
Yeah.
weird aftertaste, but I still love Gatorade. But okay, so I'm about to get personal. Okay, so as I'm having this conversation with my friend, more
Mhm.
and more doors and windows are opening to me. And you hit the nail on the head about happiness.
Yeah.
Also, I am a person who is goal oriented.
Yeah.
I set a goal. That goal needs to be accomplished. Whether I even want to accomplish the goal anymore during the process. Like I say, I want to do something, I'm going to do it, and then I have to do it.
Yeah.
So I was thinking to myself, when did this shift happen? And it happened after my divorce.
Mhm.
And it probably happened when I came to the realization that the plans that I had made for myself weren't going to be the plans that came out. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I was going to get married and have kids, it wasn't going to be on the timeline that I had set it out to be on.
Right.
And then I need to be okay with whatever life brings me because the goals had changed.
Yeah.
And then there was also a point when I was younger, which I probably would never have admitted, probably didn't even really realize it. I kind of didn't like myself.
Yeah.
I was a mean drunk back in the day.
Mhm.
Back in the day, I would get drunk and turn mean. And it was because I didn't like myself. And the reason why I didn't like myself is because I wasn't being authentic to who I am. I was faking the
Yeah.
funk, not necessarily to fit into the crowd, because I'm always the person that will go off or do this thing. My boys that I've known since high school always say, you never want to do what everybody else is doing. You always got to go against the grain. So it was
Right.
never me trying to fit in, but whatever it was, I wasn't living authentically. And at a certain point, when I stopped living for the goals that I had set in the time frames that I had set,
Yeah.
I was more reflective and like, yo, I'm kind of like a badass. Like the things that I've accomplished in my life
Yeah.
is kind of dope. I've done some really, really cool things. I've done so much in my life that there isn't actually anything that I need to do anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's nothing that
Yeah.
I need to do anymore. And there's a fulfillment in the fact that I don't want it to end right now. If it ended all now
Mhm.
and my life flashed before my eyes, there's not going to be any wasted moments. There's
Yeah.
not going to be any what ifs. The what ifs are, what if I didn't decide to do this and didn't decide to do that, but not what if I had done that
Yeah.
because I didn't do it.
Right. You didn't waste any opportunities.
I didn't waste opportunities, not opportunities that I wanted. Did I
Yeah.
waste opportunities? Something that other people would be like, well, you had the opportunity to do this and this and this, but I know what path that would have led me down, and I wouldn't have been happy. I wouldn't have been content. And I
Yeah.
think this reflectiveness, you say it all the time. I get drunk and I get like real happy. And it's
Yeah.
because I'm freaking happy. And that's
Yeah.
really dope to come to that realization that
Yeah.
there's nothing that I have to attain. There's nothing that I have to do, that I'm just happy. And then
There,
part of that,
you
I'm
can pursue things you want to do now at this point. Yeah.
right. And part of that is I probably still use it with the music like you do, because
Mhm.
I play the same playlist all the time,
Mhm.
but it's not like it was,
Yeah.
right? When we get together now, it's not me saying, well, let's turn on CB4 and Fear the Black Hat. It's not that. It's just, hey, we could do whatever, because I just love hanging out with my brother and sister.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that also comes with being on your healing journey, right? All the things that you used to need, like to get through the day and to get by, you don't need anymore because you aren't even that person anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I look at the reason why all this happened, the reason why I was thinking about this so much in the shower yesterday, is because so many people are just so angry. And
Yeah.
it's because, yes, you could absolutely be angry at a lot of things that's happening out there. It is
For sure.
enough to piss you off. But sometimes people are angry for what other people do that
Mhm.
doesn't involve them, that doesn't even really hurt anybody. And I'm like, why are you angry at that? Why are you angry at that person for living their life?
Right. Yeah.
Like, why does that bother you? And it's because you're unhappy with your life.
Yes. Yeah. I follow a really great writer and performer, Alok Vaid-Menon, and they talk about constantly how when you see a trans person, right, and you're feeling angry about the way that they're showing up in the world, it's because you yourself are not living authentically.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
And it's because you yourself, you don't know how to love yourself the way that that person loves themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't even conceptualize the kind of love that it takes for yourself to live authentically.
You realize you're not brave enough.
Yeah.
You're not brave enough. And to find out that you're not brave enough, to find out that you're scared.
Yeah.
That is an attack on your ego. And yeah, people are gonna lash out.
And it's not like, depending on what it is, right? It's not like fear is unfounded. Like sometimes it's hard to show up authentically as yourself in the world if your authentic presence isn't, you know, something that society is like accepting of, right? Like if your authentic presence is showing up as non-binary or trans but not, passing, right? Like very outwardly trans, like, and so many people in society for a myriad of dumb reasons have a problem with that. Like there's like that fear of living authentically, like that can be real sometimes. But I mean, if it's just like you like books, but you don't want your friends to know you read, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, you have to start questioning everything in your life. Like, even, are my relationships authentic if they don't know who I am?
Right. Yes. Yes.
Like all of the different parts that make me up, like they don't know them. Are my relationships even authentic? And then when you start to think about things that way, it can be very isolating and depressing, and because you feel like no one knows me and I'm too afraid to be known, and that keeps everybody at arm's length, but that also keeps everybody at arm's length.
Yeah. Yeah. I always talk about being authentically yourself. And I could say that now. It's easy for me to say that now as 44, about to turn 45, because it took me 36, 7, 8 years before I truly started.
Yeah.
And it was because it was patriarchy, right? Because a lot of the things that I do would be deemed as non-masculine, right? Dangle earrings, wearing pink,
Yeah.
wearing properly fitting clothing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Being messy,
Yeah.
like singing, like dancing, right? Wish I had done theater like I should have in high school. Like all these things, patriarchy told me that's not what men do. And
Yeah.
that's not what straight men do.
And specifically, that's not what Black straight men do.
Exactly.
Right? Because there's a different sort of masculinity in Blackness, or a different it's almost, it's hyper masculine.
Yes, it is hyper masculine. It's I think it's not just Black men. I will say that. It's Latino men, it's Italian men, it's Irish men. I'm going to say that the hyper masculinity comes from non-white American born men. Not to say that white American men aren't sometimes uber ultra masculine, but there's this thing when you are the other man.
Yeah.
That you have to be even more, you have to have even more machismo. That's machismo. That's what Razor Ramon used to say.
Yeah.
To be accepted. Because you have to be more than.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. These were just things that were going on in my head last night when I was in the shower, and I kind of like those instead of me re-arguing arguments from 1992.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, those are gone.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about that.
There's nothing I could tell Kendra.
Yeah.
Now I don't even remember her last name. If I could find her, there's something, Kendra, I got to tell you something, because when you snapped at me and everybody in the cafeteria was laughing, and I can't even remember what you said, but I had something that I would have, if I could have just said it at that time. I'm not as mean back in the day as I am now.
Yeah.
Now I'm truthful. Now I would say it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy I don't have a lot of those moments where I'm like, dang, I wish I had said this.
No, because you say, you don't hold your tongue.
I mean, look, if something sound dumb to me, I'm gonna say it sound dumb.
Yeah. I saw a meme. I reposted a meme yesterday. And it's now gotten to the point where I just say, when people say something dumb to me, I just say, Okay. Or I just agree with them just to get them to shut up.
Yeah.
'Cause
You pick your battles. You pick your battles.
I'm tired of talking to people about this. But with that being said, people being angry, this I think is a reason why people should be angry. And it's about the illegal deportation. And we're going to get into that next. Jay, something happened a while ago, but it's really now starting to get national news.
Yeah.
Because of a press conference that happened a couple of days ago. And you know what? I'm not even going to mention the two men that had the press conference, the president of the United States and the president of El Salvador. I'm not going to even mention them by name because they laughed at a reporter that asked them if they were going to do anything for Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia.
Nope.
Okay. Okay, you try it then.
Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia.
I wasn't that far off.
Okay.
Abrego is where I messed up.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. Okay, so I've been seeing it. I actually got into I'm not going to say heated debate because I didn't let myself get that heated, but a debate about this person. And the person that was debating me just didn't have all the information. And I'm seeing that a lot. I'm seeing it a lot because the administration is out there putting out lies. So what am I going to do? I'm going to tell you the honest to goodness truth. These are facts. You cannot dispute them. They're not facts. These are facts. They're not alternative facts. They're not opinions. These are facts. I'm going to give you my opinion later, but right now I'm just going to give you the facts. So Mr. Garcia is a Salvadorian national who lived in Maryland, right down the road, our home state, approximately 15 years before being mistakenly deported to El Salvador in March 2025, despite a standing court order prohibiting his removal due to a credible risk of persecution in his home country. Let me just repeat that. He was deported to El Salvador despite a standing court order prohibiting his removal due to a credible risk of persecution in his home country of El Salvador. His case had become a flashpoint in debates over immigration enforcement and due process, executive judicial power in the United States. Look, this guy was born in El Salvador. I think he's a Cancer like me. July 26, 1995. Is that a Cancer?
July 26th. No, that's a Leo.
Is that a Leo? All right,
I think so.
So he's a part of your gang. All right. He came here because his mother ran a store out of her home. And the local gang, the Barrio 18 gang, was extorting and threatening his mother. He, at the age of 16, escaped the gang violence and came here to the United States. He settled in Maryland, where his brother, who is now a U.S. citizen, lived. He worked in construction and later became a first-year apprentice with Smart Local 100, a sheet metal workers union. Okay, so this man has been in here in this country 15 years, working, being productive, paying taxes too, by the way. Part of a union. He's part of a union. He lived with his wife Jennifer, who was a U.S. citizen, their 5-year-old child, and his 2 stepchildren, both U.S. citizens with special needs. He was actively pursuing career advancement and supporting his family. Though he did enter into the United States without inspection, that means illegally, in 2019, an immigration judge found his testimony credible and granted him withholding of removal to El Salvador, recognizing a well-founded fear of future persecution by Barrio, that gang. So what does that mean? The judge said, hey, look, you basically was going to come here for asylum anyway, because the gang situation down there, you were going to die. Either we're going to force you to be in the gang or you were going to die. If we send you back there, you're going to die. You've been here for, at that time, 10 years. Right? You're working, you got a family, you've got no criminal stuff going on right now. No, we're going to make sure, I'm going to write this order to make sure that you're not being deported. And what year was this? This is in 2019. Who was the president in 2019?
Good question.
It was Donald J. Trump.
I'm not good at dates, people. I don't know.
Okay. But the court order specifically barred his removal to El Salvador,
Yeah.
a protection that was still in effect at his time of deportation. He was arrested in March 2025, detained by ISIS agents while driving home from work with his son. He was not charged with any crime. Despite the court order, ISIS deported him to El Salvador on March 15th, citing an administrative error. The U.S. government later admitted his removal was illegal. The U.S. government did. Of course, he's been already deported, and he's in that prison in El Salvador with, everybody said, inhumane treatment and torture, and it's not good, right?
Yeah.
So why is the Trump administration saying that he's an MS-13 gang member? Well, the U.S. government has claimed that he is a verified and ranking member of MS-13, designating him a foreign terrorist organization. However, he's never been charged with any gang-related crimes here or in El Salvador, and his family has vehemently denied these allegations. The gang allegation appears to be based on a police gang-filled interview sheet and an ISIS I-213 form, but the government has not produced these documents in court. The original immigration judge found Mr. Garcia's testimony credible and consistent with no evidence of gang violence.
Yeah.
I'm going to get into more about what the U.S. Supreme Court did, but just putting it out there. The lies have been that he's been part of a gang. He's not part of a gang, and I'm going to get into more detail about that later. The U.S. government has openly admitted that he was deported illegally, right? And the president of the United States and the president of El Salvador are laughing about the Supreme Court ruling that ordered the administration to facilitate his return to the United States.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm angry about this. I'm angry about this because if people are just like, well, he was here illegally. Okay, if he was here illegally and he's making the steps to become a citizen and a federal judge says, nah, we're not going to deport him. Under the Trump administration, right? Federal judge says this, we're not going to deport him. Right. And they deport him, but they do so in measures that are illegal. Yeah. Shouldn't the government be held to a greater standard than a person trying to escape a horrible situation?
Yeah, because the fact of the matter is, yes, this man was undocumented, but he had legal protections to stay in this country. He had legal protection to stay in the country for fear of what would happen should he be deported back to El Salvador. It boggles my mind how people have zero empathy for just the value of human life. If you know sending him to El Salvador is tantamount to a death sentence for this man, for things that he was a 16-year-old kid just trying to escape gang violence, for things that are outside of his control. And you have the capability as a country to say, hey, you're paying into our system. You're staying out of trouble. You're just raising your family and trying to, live your life. Yeah, we can protect you. Like the fact that people just have no sense of just like care for a human life is what's so astounding to me. We're here legally. So are you.
Well, not everybody.
Listen, just because you came here as a colonialist power doesn't mean that you are here legally. You created the system that has given you the where you assumed authority over this land. That doesn't mean that you belong here. Let's get that straight. You came to a place, created a system that says you belong and other people can't. And then you're literally basing your entire political philosophy on that fallacy or that lie, right? Or that the thing that you engineered. So let's not, first of all. And then And then it's just, but this is a human being.
But they don't look at him as that.
Right. And that's the problem.
When I was having this conversation with this person, I said, the reason why you feel the way you do is because he doesn't look like you. If he looked like you feel a little bit differently because it would hit closer to home. No, that's not true. I said, that's absolutely true.
It is true.
That's how human nature works. When something happens bad that you can identify with, it hits closer to home, you have more empathy. When it's at a distance and you can't identify with it, you have less empathy. It's not human. They're not human to you. So you don't care what happens to them. And my argument was, yeah, they're here illegally. Well, the country did something illegally by deporting them. Who should be held at a higher standard? We're here illegally. Okay. Well, I think that's a dumbass argument. But okay. So let's talk about the government's allegations. Or no, not even the government's allegations. It's the administration's allegations. And I almost cussed. Stephen Miller.
Oh, boy.
God. God, I can't stand that person. And him going on and on about MS-13. Guess what, Stephen Miller? Guess what you are? You are a part of a gang as well. You're a part of an illegal gang. You know what that illegal gang is? White supremacy.
Yeah.
You're a white supremacist.
Yeah.
That's a domestic terrorist.
Yes.
That's a real domestic terrorist.
Yes.
Anyway, so the government's allegations of gang membership have been unsubstantiated and contradicted by prior judicial findings. Let's get to the main thing. Mr. Garcia has no criminal record.
No.
Multiple sources indicate the presiding federal judge confirmed that Mr. Garcia has no criminal record, not only here in the U.S., but also in El Salvador, and has never been charged with any gang-related crimes. In current legal proceedings, the government has not introduced the forms that were used to identify him as a MS-13 member, right? The confidential informant, officials have also claimed that the confidential informant that alerted them to Mr. Garcia's alleged gang ties, but this hasn't been substantiated. And let's talk about this confidential informant. The confidential informant was from a police officer, right? The police officer pleaded guilty to police misconduct and has a history of falsifying informant information.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the reason why the court threw it out that it's not credible. This person said he was wearing a Chicago Bulls hat. You have Jesse Waters on Fox News saying he's in Maryland. He lives in Maryland. Why is he a Chicago Bulls fan if he's in Maryland? Hey, yo, check it out. Jesse Waters. I live in Virginia, lived in Maryland. I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. I'm not in any gang. Sometimes people are just Jesse Waters never makes sense. He says men shouldn't be able to go shopping with their wives. That's not what men do. He's an idiot. But these are the people that's on Fox News, that are giving people information, false information, and people are like, well, it's on the news. It's got to be true. No, it's not true.
And so, it's the same people watching it that live in Cleveland and are, Warriors fans. And they were like, well, it makes sense. He's Maryland and Chicago Bulls fan. That's odd. The same thing applies to you. Like, I don't understand.
So what they're basically saying, because MS-13 do use Chicago Bulls hat as kind of a gang affiliation hat, but what they're essentially saying is, if you are Latino and you wear a Chicago Bulls hat, we can deport you because we can say that you're a part of MS-13. So if you're Latino out there, can't be no Chicago Bulls fan, and that's not America, right?
Yeah,
that's not the principles that we were supposed to be founded on.
Yeah, but we haven't lived up to that in a really, really long time. So, like, everything that's written on that little tablet in Ellis Island, Statue of Liberty, bring us your poor huddled masses. We ain't lived up to that in a very, very long time. So it's just like, here's the thing, and this is what everybody should be afraid of, right? And this is what should make everybody particularly nervous. They made up evidence and illegally deported this man and have no intention of getting him back. And as far as I know, El Salvador has no intention of returning him.
The president said, I can't help you.
So everybody should be concerned that they could make up things about you with no evidence, substantiated not at all, even when asked to by a federal judge, and even when ordered by a federal judge not to deport you, they will do it anyway.
The Supreme Court, 9-0. All of the Supreme Court justices. Now remember, it's supposedly 6-3 conservative, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 Supreme Court justices that were specifically appointed by Donald Trump.
Yeah.
All 9 Supreme Court justices said this deportation was illegal and that the administration needs to do whatever they need to do to bring him back because it wasn't right. And this administration from the Supreme Court is saying, F you, we don't have to do it. This is what people need to realize, because he's hinting that he'll even deport Americans to this prison. I'm talking about American citizens, born citizens. They're hinting at it. They are pushing the letter of the law. They are challenging the Constitution. They are becoming a dictatorship. And this is how it happens. This is the same thing that Hitler and the Nazi Party did in Germany in the 1930s.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen all in one night. Just like I didn't come to this epiphany last night in the shower, and it didn't happen just right then. It was a gradual process of my evolution of changing.
Yeah.
The evolution of this country changing is not a small process. It started all the way back in 2016. It started then. Here we are 8 years later, about to go into 9 years later. The moves that they're making, and this isn't the only person that they've disappeared illegally. There have been numerous cases. This year, we're only in April, right? This year, there's been numerous cases of people being disappeared. And who are they disappearing? People that they don't agree with. People who are challenging their authority.
Yeah.
They're disappearing them. So there are people out there that feel like, hey, I don't have no connection to this person. It doesn't affect me. I can't even identify with this person. Y'all are crazy. This is an overstep. That's not America. This isn't what's going to happen. I'm telling you right now, these are the steps that we're going towards.
Yeah.
And if you don't wake up, it's going to be y'all. Because I'm going to tell you, us, it ain't going to happen to us. Because we not going to allow something like that to happen to us. We would go down to El Salvador to get one of us. There would be a group of people that travel down there and would go get them. Even if we had to go to war personally with the whole government of El Salvador, we would make it happen.
Yeah.
So I'm telling y'all, this is for your benefit, not ours, because we see it coming. Y'all need to wake up.
Yeah.
You need to wake up.
Where are the protests?
Well, it's become real popular this week. Maybe there'll be some protests this weekend. The positive thing that I'm seeing is that the news is really hammering them.
Yeah.
Even Fox News, even some people on Fox News was like, yeah, this was an illegal deportation. You still got your Jesse Waters that are going to hold water for the administration. They're hacks. They're not real people. They are bought shills. Like they have no backbone. They have no spine. They'll never stand up for anything right. They'll always fall in line. But you have the news organizations putting this out there. People are talking about it. This was March 15th, right? So this was a month ago that he was deported. And it's really starting to pick up pace because what they did in that Oval Office was a bad look. There's going to be a lot of people that support the president that was like, yeah, that's right. Get him out of the country. But even people that voted for him that have a conscience are like, no, wait a minute, hold up. There's a process. There are laws that we've established that when we deport people, we're going to follow this way of deporting it. Hey, you know who's the president that deported the most people?
Who was that?
Barack Obama. He deported the most people. Joe Biden deported a lot. It's not. If you're here illegally, either you take the steps, we give you the steps to become a legal citizen, or you got to go back. And then you got to come through and try to come to this country legally. I am not opposed to deportation, but we have a structure. We have certain rules and standards when you're caught here illegally before we just send you off. I'm gonna tell you who did that. Fidel Castro, Adolf Hitler. Do you want to be tied to these type of figures?
He does.
I'm saying to the American people out there that are listening, that voted for him, because they do hate watch us or hate listen to us. Do you want to be tied to that?
Well, here's the thing. There were plenty of people at that time that were tied to that. Plenty. The only way that these people got in power was by the support of the people. So I don't know.
And you
I don't know.
Changing anybody.
But today, luckily today, U.S. District Court Judge James Boasberg determined that there is probable cause to hold the Trump administration in criminal contempt for violating his March 15th order halting deportations. So he has given the administration until April 23rd to respond. And if no satisfactory action is taken, he may identify responsible officials and request prosecution, potentially appointing an independent attorney if the Justice Department declines. So,
the Justice Department will absolutely decline.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But U.S. District Court Judge James Boasberg, he ain't playing.
Yeah.
He ain't playing.
I know they're going to defy this. They defied the Supreme Court. They defied that. They're not going to. They defied the Supreme Court.
Of course.
So
they don't care because he is 100% determined to be king. So he doesn't care. He thinks none of this applies to him. And guess what? History has shown that it doesn't.
Yeah,
that's true. Because this man has slip-slided and skated through every single controversy, every single court case, every single guilty verdict, and he still became the president of the United States, and he's still defying the law. He's still refusing to acknowledge the separation of powers. This man don't give a damn. He does not care.
Not slip-slided and skating.
Slip-slided and skated. Get through everything. So if history is telling him, I am above the law, do you think he is going to care about this judge holding him in contempt? No, because he already sees himself as King Trump, and he thinks he is above the law. And congratulations, you idiots, you have just empowered a psychopath. That's all I got to say about that.
And that's all that need to be said. All right, Jay, in my, this has really been a self-absorbed show, but in my last night shower,
okay,
I have a lot of plans this weekend. I got a plan tonight. People that listen to the After Hours Uncensored know what's going on tonight. I'm not about to tell you on this main show, but I got plans tonight. And I got a lot of plans this weekend. And it's WrestleMania weekend. And what I truly want to do is sit in the house.
And watch WrestleMania, sure.
And watch WrestleMania. But also, all I ever want to do is not go outside.
Yeah.
I used to love being outside when I was younger. I don't want to be outside. And I'm learning that this is a common occurrence to a lot of my friends who are up there in my age.
Yeah.
All we want to do is sit inside the house.
Yeah.
So, you know me, I had to be like, well, why is that? Why is it that we want to sit inside the house the older we get? And ladies and gentlemen, I got some answers for you. I went to my favorite site, vice.com. And the name of the article is, I don't feel like partying anymore. Am I depressed or just getting old? By Jalisa Pringles. By Miss Pringles.
Now, are we 100% sure about that?
What?
The name.
No, that's absolutely the name.
Okay.
It's Miss Pringles. And then the first name, Dejan Lisa?
I think it's like Django where the D is silent.
Well, you can't be sure, but let's say Jan Lisa.
Jean Lisa, yeah.
Jean Lisa?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't hear no un. There's no un in there. Anyway.
Yeah.
So why people go out less as they get older? One of the main reasons is changing priorities and responsibilities. As people age, their lives often become busier with work, family, and other commitments. The energy and free time available for going out, especially late at night, decreases.
Yeah.
Many find that staying out until the early hours is less appealing when weighed against early mornings, childcare, or simply needing the rest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that kind of makes sense because I tell you what I don't like doing. Trying to function in a day where I only have 4 hours of sleep.
That part. Yeah, I think as you get older, you start to prioritize rest.
Mhm.
And yes, because when you're younger, you can still function and operate off little sleep. But as you get older, it becomes more and more difficult to do. And then as you get older, you have more and more responsibilities and things that you have to do. And you need more rest, like just to recharge. So the more I need to, that's less and less time I have for being in the streets.
Yeah. Look, let me tell you something. Sometimes I even get 8 hours of sleep and my alarm goes off and I'm like, no, it ain't that. It's not time yet.
Yeah.
Why am I still sleepy? I need more rest than 8 hours. What the hell is going on? And yeah, we're a lot busier. Like when you're younger, you got a job maybe. You ain't got no real responsibilities. I
Right.
remember in college, me and my friend were drinking and getting high, watching Martin playing video games, having a grand old time. And we
That
had a paper
sounds like fun.
that was our normal occurrence every Wednesday or Thursday night. I think this particular night was Wednesday night, but we had a Spanish paper due the next day.
Mhm.
Neither one of us had started working on it. It's
Oh,
2
boy.
o'clock in the morning. I'm about to go back to my dorm room. He's like, "You gonna get up early and do the paper?" I said, "No, I'm gonna do the paper tonight." He's like,
Mhm.
"What?" He's like, "You drunk and high." I was like, "Yeah, I'll do the paper tonight and proof it in the morning, but I'm going to do the paper tonight because getting up in the morning and doing it then is not going to happen."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it took me about an hour, right, to write it. So I went to bed at 3, woke up around 7, 8 o'clock, proofed the paper, actually did really good considering that I was drunk and high. That's probably the only time I could be fluent in Spanish is when I'm drunk and high. Went to the class. I think class started at like 9:30 or 10. Went to the class with paper in hand. I looked
Yeah.
over at him. He's haggard. Mind you, I've only had 5 hours of sleep just like him, right?
Mhm.
I maybe had less sleep than he did because I stayed up to do this paper. He didn't do the paper.
Wow.
I said, "Man, you didn't do the paper?" "Nah, man, I couldn't get up this morning." I was like, "Yeah, I told you to do it last night.
Yeah.
I can't do that now."
Yeah. I remember being 18, 19 years old, working at the restaurant until late, and then going to a friend's house and partying until who knows what time, passing out, waking up at 6 a.m., driving home, take a shower, get dressed, and head to class.
Yeah.
And living that way and being completely fine. Now I go to the grocery store, I gotta take a nap.
Let me tell you something. On Friday, I normally go to the liquor store and the grocery store. It's gotten to the point now because I do my cleaning on Friday too, that I'm like, I'm just going to have the groceries and the liquor delivered. I'll pay the extra fee because I'm exhausted.
Yeah. I've had a bunch of stuff delivered today because I was like, I don't have time to go out. I'm too tired to go out. And I don't want to leave the house. Another thing is when you're young, particularly when you're like a teenager or in college or something like that, you still live at home, you're not paying rent, mortgage, things like that. When you get to our big age and you paying rent and mortgage, you like, I'm paying to live here. I need to be here.
Right. Right. I want to be in the place that I'm paying for.
Yes. I don't want to go out and spend money when I'm spending money to be here.
Right.
So I'm going to stay here and y'all can come here and see me.
And not stay too long.
And not stay too long.
All right. Shifts in social preferences is also a reason why we don't want to be for the streets anymore. Older adults tend to become more selective about how and with whom they spend their time. Experiences and disappointments over the years may lead to higher standards for social interactions and less tolerance for superficiality or drama. even though I still love some drama. But
You love it.
not when I'm in the drama.
It's your favorite thing.
Many people report becoming more introverted, preferring meaningful connections over large, noisy gatherings. Let me tell you something right now. If they playing loud music, I don't want to be there.
If I can't have a quiet conversation, I'm going home.
If I gotta yell for you to hear me or come in close and whisper in your ear in order for you to hear me, I don't want to be there.
No.
And I love trap music. It could be a trap spot. I can listen to trap music at home.
Yeah, at home, in the comfort of my own home.
In a reasonable volume.
Yeah, I don't need it.
You know what else I don't like? Drunk people bumping into me, not saying excuse me, spilling stuff on me, messing up my shoes. I don't like none of that stuff.
You know what else I don't like? Especially being here in Atlanta, YNs.
Oh, yeah, well.
They're everywhere, and they make it so unbearable to live. And I'd rather just stay. Yes, I'm an auntie, and I would rather just stay in my home and not deal with all these kids out here.
There's a lot of kids out there. I can't go on U Street. You know, U Street used to be my spot.
Yeah.
I saw a video the other day, last weekend. It was a big female brawl right outside on U Street. They fight. It was like 20, 30 girls. They fighting in the streets. They're not, I'm like, oh, I'm too old for all. This was fun when I was in my 20s. Maybe even a little bit in my early 30s. Now in my mid 40s, no, this is some nonsense. The tomfoolery. Where are y'all parents? Who raised y'all?
Yeah.
All right. Another reason why as you get older, you might not be for the streets. Physical and emotional changes. The body's response to socialization, alcohol, and late nights often change with age. Recovery from night out takes longer, and the physical toll can outweigh the enjoyment. Emotional stability and self-containment also increase, reducing the need for external stimulation or validation. Look, I can still drink. You seen me. I can drink at my pace. And you know why? Because I'm at home.
Yeah.
Where I can't drink is outside.
Yeah.
Because the music is loud. I don't realize I'm drinking fast. I'm socializing. I'm having a good time. Next thing I know, the next morning, I'm not moving so good. And if I'm not moving so good the next morning and it don't recover, then that means our whole day is shot. And I got things to do. So my days can't be shot.
Exactly. Like, listen, I got bills to pay. I got responsibilities. I got deadlines. I have deliverables that are due. I can't be out here in these streets with you young people at all times of the night spending $15 on a watered down drink. I don't want no parts of it. I will be at home and I will have I'll have a fun kickback, and y'all can all come and be here, and we'll have a good time. But
except for YNs, they can't come.
No, they can't. They're not invited. I don't even know any. I don't. Yeah. No.
All right. Another one is burnout and energy levels. Burnout from work and life can sap the energy needed for socialization. Exhaustion and stress make quiet evenings at home more attractive than crowded venues or parties. The pandemic years also taught many to appreciate the comfort of home and the value of downtime.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the pandemic definitely, it forced us to slow down. It forced us inside, and then people, they started seeing what little stuff needed to be done around the house, and they started doing it. And then all of a sudden it's a little more comfortable in here. I got a new couch, and I got I painted a little bit, put some art up, and now it's kind of nice in here. I didn't even like being in here before, but now I kind of like it. And I'm forced to be here. I'm forced to be with myself and my thoughts or my family. And well, you know what? My spouse is actually kind of cool. Like I like talking to them, spending time with them. And next thing you know, you realize you don't need to go out as much to find enjoyment or or to socialize or things like that. You find that you don't need it as much, or you find other ways to do it that actually work better for you.
Or like we were harping on in the first segment, you become more content and you don't need the outside stuff to placate whatever you got going on in your life. You can be at peace in your home.
Yeah.
Which is funny because during reading this article and doing a little bit more research, I was wondering what the hell was going on, and this explains it. Increased social anxiety and discomfort might also be reasons why you don't want to be in the streets at an older age. For some, social anxiety increases with age, especially if they go out less often. Meeting new people or engaging in large group settings can become more daunting, leading to avoidance of such situations. Let me tell you, when I went to that party upstairs, a wine and cheese party, I didn't want to go. I went. And I met some new friends.
Yes.
And it was okay. It was cool. But I didn't want to go.
Right.
And I want to have those friends on my terms. I don't want them popping up at my house. I don't want them randomly texting me. I want my space. Why? Because I have severe social anxiety. And yes, I am very personable. And yes, I am very likable. And no, it's not a complete act, but it takes a lot of my energy up. And then I just feel drained. And then I got to slink back into my little hole and get my energy back up to go out there to the streets. But it's large distances now between doing that.
Same. Like, I think that's also like a byproduct of the pandemic, right? Like, you started to develop more anxiety going out because you're like, I don't want to get sick. What's this person coughing? Why you stand so close to me in line? Like, you start developing this anxiety around just like interpersonal contact. And so yeah, you don't want to go out. I fully see that social anxiety has increased. And
I would say the pandemic, I had all those things before the pandemic.
I'm saying it increased it in people. There are people, I would say in general, there are people who probably didn't have any social anxiety or social discomfort, and post-pandemic are finding, I don't like to go out more and more because it just makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't. I really don't like going out. I really don't. And you know what? Going out costs money. If going out was free, like living at home and being at home, then I probably wouldn't mind. Well, no, because then you got to get dressed up. You got to like.
There's a lot of steps involved.
And people maybe some people don't do this, but I do this. There's a difference in shower between me showering just because I'm going to be sitting around the house all day. I know I ain't going nowhere. And me going out showering.
Yeah. It's a much longer shower.
Yeah, it's two different showers.
Involved.
Yes.
Yes.
The grooming that it takes for going out is different grooming. Some dudes are probably just like, what is he talking about? And you know what? Okay.
Yeah. We know. We get it.
Okay.
If you're asking, sir,
then
we know what your drawers look like. You ain't want to say it, but I do.
When Ray J said, guys, y'all got to make sure that y'all wear dark colored drawers so they don't see your dookie stains, I was like, sir, you as a grown man should not have no dookie stains in your drawers.
You're grown. And
there are too many tools now. Look, I can understand maybe back in the day. Maybe back in the day, maybe toilet paper wasn't that sound, it wasn't that scientific. Now we got 4-ply, 5-ply. Maybe it was only 1-ply back in the day. You didn't have a bidet and you didn't have the wet wipes. Now you got all those things.
Yes.
Ain't no excuses. And if it still don't help you clean yourself, jump your ass in the shower.
Yes.
That's what you need to do.
And also consult a doctor, because it shouldn't be that violent below that you can't get it under control with toilet paper wipes, and a bidet. If you can't get it under control with toilet paper, wipes, and a bidet, go see a doctor.
Yeah.
Go see a doctor.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have mine under control, but I'm just anal about that type of stuff. Pun intended.
Yeah.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, you don't necessarily have to be depressed and that be the reason why you don't want to go out. It could just be that you're just getting old and you don't want to deal with the BS anymore. And that's okay. You ain't got to be for the streets, especially if you spent your younger years for the streets.
Yeah, you had your fun.
You had your fun.
Leave the streets for those who can handle it.
Right.
I leave it up to the young. Y'all enjoy them streets. I have my time in them. And it was great. It was glorious. I don't need to go back because I'm too tired. It
is fun every now and then. I love to do about once or twice a year with somebody that we both know that we're both very, very close to. And every time me and that person get together, it's always a story about some shenanigans that happen.
Every time.
I like to do that once or twice a year. Yes. But guess what? I planned for that. I know the next day is going to be a shot.
Yeah.
So I just like, okay, cool. That's what it is.
I've built that into my schedule. Right. You can't just say, hey, let's do something tonight.
I think everybody that knows me knows that they cannot hit me up to do something that night.
I'm going to let you know my computer has 2% battery.
Okay, on that note, we're going to end the show. We're just going to end it anyway. Hey, Jay, what do you want to tell the people out there?
There is a quote by American author Sinclair Lewis, and it is, when fascism comes to America, it will be wrapped in a flag and carrying a cross. Just think about that.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for watching. And until next time, as always, I'll holla.
Gotta get your groove on. Oh my Lord.
Well,
so much noise.
So much. Hey, look. 40 and this is 40. I did some math earlier today. I was like, how many days have I lived? It's over 16,000. I was like, that don't seem right. I feel like it should be close to 100,000. Then I was like, no, that don't make no sense. It's 365 days in a year.
Did you say 100,000?
Like, it got to be like 100,000. No, it's not 100,000.
No, why would it be? Why would it be?
I don't know. Let me get this teleprompter ready. I got to record this show. I got a meeting after this, and then I got that little thing tonight.
Yeah, I got 2 meetings after this, and I still need to prep because my big presentation.
I thought that was yesterday.
No, it's tomorrow morning.
Oh, damn. Yeah. Well, we're going to be quick with this. We only got to film one show.
I should have definitely told you I'd be available Wednesdays in 2 weeks.
Well,
I should have said that, but that's okay. I made time.
We here now.
We here. We in it. We gonna do it.
Let me pin you.
Just knock it out.
Yeah. All right, ready? What we talking about? We're talking about. Did you get a chance to look at the rundown?
Yeah.
Okay, because we talking about.
I just said we talking about Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia.
Yeah, I couldn't say his name, but all right, let's do this intro. All right. I like it every now and then when we.
Yeah.
I need to be open every now and then.
Get a little real.
Yeah, they need to know me.
Yeah.
Right? Or else why would they come?
Why would they listen? Why would they listen?
Just
they have no
jokes?
Emotional investment.
They got to have an emotional investment.
Yes,
you got to know who we are. And then hopefully every now and then maybe something that we say touches somebody else.
Right.
All right. Whew. That was a hell of a show. Thank you for rocking with us here on Unsolicited Perspectives with Bruce Anthony. Now, before you go, don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, comment, and share our podcast wherever you're listening or watching it to it. Pass it along to your friends. If you enjoy it, that means the people that you rock will enjoy it also. So share the wealth, share the knowledge, share the noise. And for all those people that say, well, I don't have a YouTube. If you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can actually watch our video podcast and YouTube exclusive content. But the real party is on our Patreon page, After Hours Uncensored and Talking Straight-ish. After Hours Uncensored is another show with my sister. And once again, the key word there is uncensored. Those are exclusively on our Patreon page. Jump onto our website at unsolicitedperspectives.com for all things us. That's where you can get all of our audio, video, our blogs, and even buy our merch. And if you really feel generous and want to help us out, you can donate on our donations page. Donations go strictly to improving our software and hardware so we can keep giving you guys good content that you can clearly listen to and that you can clearly see. So any donation would be appreciative. Most importantly, I want to say thank you for listening and watching and supporting us. And I'll catch you next time. Audi 5000. Peace.